Welcome to our pelvic floor exercise section. Let's take a look at a couple great exercises to address the pelvic floor that go beyond just regular Kegels. All right, so keep in mind that there are many exercise options to help address different pelvic floor issues. So if you can join me in our full PCES course, we'll dive further into that during the 8-hour pelvic floor specific exercise section. All right, so you know I love focusing on the exercise approach by now. All right, so in the meantime, let's dive into 3 great exercises for the pelvic floor that you can start using today. So we'll start with something very low level to help loosen the pelvic floor. Then we'll move into a moderate and advanced exercise to help address how the femur is moving in the socket, which then affects the pelvic floor. Pelvic floor tightness is a big issue for building pelvic floor strength. Since a significant percentage of women have some pelvic floor tightness, it's something that we should address as part of a great exercise routine. I just love working things in. Makes it so easy. So using breathing to get the pelvic floor to let go can be a great strategy. And it's also easy to accomplish. It works especially well for low level tension, the people who don't think they're tight. So keep in mind that sometimes there's a lot of fear when it comes to inhaling down into the pelvic floor. It sends pressure down, and this can feel really scary, especially if someone is dealing with prolapse. So I like to start with a little sneak attack, all right? And this has the bonus of identifying when one side, our TAs, are tighter than the other side. So if you can, join me in a really comfy seated position on the floor or a comfy chair. All right, since TA tightness can go hand in hand with pelvic floor tightness, we're looking at TA expansion here as well. So this can also be helpful for healing a diastasis and improving front belly distension. So give it a try with me, even if you don't think you have pelvic floor tightness. All right, so what we're gonna do is think about sinking into one hip. So open that ischial tuberosity a little bit, sink down into your pelvis. Take your hand and place it on your side where you're kind of wrapping around your pelvic bowl in general. Maybe you're gonna have your thumb a little bit in the front on the fleshy part, fingers wrapped around the side. Now, what I want you to do is, keeping your hand here, I want you to think about inhaling down into your hand. I want you to weight that sit bone a little bit more. And I want you to lean a little bit to the left while you weight it more. So we're kind of opening the side, and then I want you to inhale down. There you go. After a couple breaths, you're going to start to feel that expansion go down more. That pressure go down. Breathe into your side a little bit more for me. Nice. And then move it down and breathe into your pelvic bowl a little bit more. So since we have those pelvic floor muscles on either side, what we're thinking about doing is we're breathing down into that iliacus. We're breathing down into our levator ani muscles. We're sending that pressure down to help expand and open our side abdominals and down into that one side of the pelvic floor. Now go ahead and switch sides and breathe down into the other side. Now give me a breath into your side. You're thinking about expanding your fingers over there, and then breathe down into your pelvic bowl again. Really weight that sits bone, let it find the ground, and give me a few more. Now, can you compare the two sides? Were you able to feel that breath all the way down, kind of opening? I like to think about it as expanding a balloon animal. The clown at the circus or wherever, where they will blow up those long balloons and then tie them off and make them into balloon animals. So I want you to imagine that is what's happening. You are blowing up that balloon as you inhale down. Nice big inhale, and you're feeling that expansion go all the way down until you feel it hit, especially if you're on one side, until you feel that expand into one side of your pelvic floor. So I want you to feel that great expansion happen. Do both sides. If you want, you can do a little bit of side sitting and then breathe down into your pelvic bowl. Sometimes that helps because you're putting things at a little bit more of a muscular tension, so it gives you a little bit more feedback. But give that a try and compare sides. So oftentimes I'll find somebody has one side where they can connect well with, have a breath that expands down, but the other side doesn't really move at all. And then you can work on evening that up. If they can't feel their breath and pressure go all the way down into their pelvic floor, having that nice little expansion out, then that's something that you're going to want to work on. They have some pelvic floor tightness. One of the things that women will describe it to me as is they're like, I just feel like my breath hit a brick wall. And it happens right around here, like right maybe below my belly button, right above my pubic bone. I just feel like I impacted this kind of like wall and it stops my expansion and breath. So if you don't have pelvic floor tightness, you're going to feel that breath go all the way down. You're going to feel it kind of want to balloon out a little bit. If you force the inhale a little bit, like bear down a little bit, you'll feel kind of a bulging out. And this is obviously, we don't want bulging out. But what I do want you to do is feel that expansion all the way down. So if you have some pelvic floor tightness, you will get that inhale will stop because it will hit that tightness. It will hit that resistance, and then you won't get that nice expanding breath. Okay, so give this a try as a nice starting point because we have to fully lengthen to be able to contract, which is why it's so important to help work on tightness. Now let's move into the hip and see what kind of progress we can make there. I'd like to move into a hip shift exercise so we can focus on one side of the pelvic floor. So there are lots of variations of hip shift exercises. The PRI especially has a ton. But today I'd like to look at hands and knees and how we can shift our hips there. When working with postpartum women, you need to be especially mindful of their previous birthing positions if you find their body isn't responding the way you think it should. So we can hold on to trauma even if we don't think it's worthy of being labeled trauma. So that can affect how efficiently we're able to connect and produce a muscular response. For example, if I'm having a lot of trouble getting someone in supine, lying on their back, to connect with their abs and their pelvic floor, and it's just not working, I'm not going to keep them there. I'm going to move them into side lying or hands and knees or even standing. I'm often amazed at the better response that I get when I simply just move them into a different position. So I wanted to show you a hip shift in hands and knees to add some variety to your exercise library. So if you can, grab a yoga block or a big thick book or a couple books and join me on the floor. So let's give this a go. What we're going to do is we're going to go into hands and knees. And we're going to be on our knees. And we are going to think about shifting our hip in the socket. First, we're going to drop down, and then we're going to drag and lift up. And when we do this, we are changing the length-tension relationship of our deep hip rotators in our hip. And what that does is it changes our pelvic floor muscle length-tension relationship as well. So think about it as our obturator internus. The fascia from the obturator internus is what our levator ani muscle attaches into. All right, so when we think about changing this length-tension relationship of a hip muscle, we influence the tension produced through into the pelvic floor. The kinetic chain is incredible. We also are going to change the length-tension relationship of our piriformis and all of our other deep hip rotators, which therefore are going to interplay in with our pelvic floor, because when we think about this pelvic bowl, we also have those deep hip rotators as well sitting in and connecting. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our hands and knees. And I want you to think about being subtle and gentle and not forcing motion. So what I want you to do for your first part is just hop up on your book or yoga block and just think about letting the other leg sink down. Okay, so right now I've got my weight mostly in my right leg, 80% of my right leg, and I'm thinking about letting my left hip sink down toward the ground. And then what I want you to do here is think about lifting. I'm lifting my left leg, and I'm thinking about lifting up. I'm shifting my hip, and I am shifting it up. Now we can do this coming from two different ways. Way number one, we can do it by lifting with our adductors, okay? So we can think about that left adductor. As I lift my left leg, I am squeezing my left femur back up into the socket. I'm squeezing my left femur back up into the socket, and I'm using my adductor to lift and shift that side of my pelvis. Okay, so you can shift it and you can lift with this left side. Feel that adductor muscle, feel that tension, squeeze that adductor muscle in. And what you might feel as you lift with that side, you might feel even like a natural pelvic floor lift want to kick in as well, okay? Because we are influencing our pelvic outlet at this point by using our adductors, which we'll get into at some point later because it gets a little bit complicated. But we are doing this by shifting into that hip. We can also do this by using our glute medius on the other side to help push us up. So if I push from this right leg, it will help me shift my left side up. So that creates an effective weight shift. So I am shifting fully into that other hip. So we are pushing from that glute medius. Okay, so we are pushing or we are pulling or we are doing both. So what I want you to do is do a couple of these where you shift up. Now you're trying not to switch to the other side. All right, let me give you a very personal view. So you are trying not to, so what you want to think about is shift, 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 shift. See how I'm staying in this plane of motion? I am not shifting over. Okay, so this is really important. As you lift, don't shift to cheat it. Lift straight up, shifting. You also want to make sure that you do not scrunch your back. So I will see cheating from people that will scrunch their back as well. Hips stay long, torso stays long, back does not scrunch. Now go ahead and switch to the other side. I want you to give that side a try and shift up on the other side. How does that feel? Did you feel, oh, maybe you wanted to arch your back more when you did the other side? Maybe your hip felt a little sticky. Maybe you felt like, oh, I looked down and I couldn't lift my knee as high. I feel like I can't really shift into that side as well. So I want you to compare, whoops, lost the microphone. I want you to compare both sides and I want you to see which side feels like it has more mobility. Which side did you feel like I could lift really well with my adductor, but I couldn't push with my glute? Or maybe it's vice versa. On the other side, I felt like, oh, I'm all adductor, but no adductor, but my glute wanted to push. And then compare that to what you feel in your body. Do you maybe have an adductor that feels tight, like it's always on? Do you maybe have some top, like glute medius hip tightness that always feels like your hip is on and always, feels a little like nagging? You gotta roll it out, use a ball in it. All right, so as we're getting this push and pull from both sides and allowing our femur to move really well in the socket, we allow our pelvis to help shift us in and out. So we're getting that reciprocal motion from side to side. And boy, does that leave our hips really happy and our pelvic floor really happy. Okay, so this is probably what I would call a middle of the road exercise. I love this for creating that hip shifts. Now, let's go ahead and take it to our advanced people and let's take it into standing and see what we feel there. The last thing I want you to really think about with this is feel what's happening at your pelvic floor. Feel how does your pelvic floor feel like it's getting a natural lift? Are you not having to maybe contract your pelvic floor? Feel how it loosens your hip. Feel how it opens structures in the back of your hip. See if you can kind of play around with it a little bit and what else you feel besides just that femur moving really well in the socket when you create that hip shift that allows everything to loosen up and move like it should. So these are some of my favorite active standing exercises for the pelvic floor. And we're gonna do, it's like a combo of a split stance hinge with an airplane, like a level 3 warrior from yoga. So I love this combination because we're really just gonna get in there and open that pelvic floor area. We're gonna get all those muscles lengthening and contracting. We're gonna work our glute medius, we're gonna work our adductors, and we're gonna help, and just in general, release the hip and pelvic floor area. It's gonna move better and feel better. So go ahead and join me if you can in standing. Find something to hold on to. You're gonna want a little something when you're first trying this exercise. Now, I have this colored paper here because I'm gonna note a few things about how my femur is moving and not moving to help this exercise be more successful versus reinforce the same patterns people are continuing to do. Okay, so go into the split stance. Now in the split stance, you're gonna pull back with your front leg and you're gonna pull forward with your back leg, all right? This pulling forward is gonna help us further kind of open this glute pelvic floor area. So you're gonna hinge down opening your glutes, pulling with your legs. 80% of your weight is on your front foot, 20% is on your back. Your abs are going to give me a little bit of a scoop. So I want you to feel like your lower abs are kind of scooped. So you are hinging, you are opening your tailbone, you are lifting your tailbone area a little bit, but you are not falling forward into an anterior tilt. You're kind of scooping and anchoring your abs a little bit, but you're also not tucking. Okay, so we're finding that sweet spot of control without too much either direction. Now, from here, what I want you to do is think about coming down through your hip and then pushing away with that front leg a little bit and opening through your hip. Okay, so you're gonna pull down and up. Now, your knee is gonna come forward a little bit as you come up and back a little bit as you come down. It's just creating a big shift all the way into full external rotation on this leg to full internal rotation on this leg. So we are externally rotating and we are internally rotating. Now, what is happening is our pelvis is moving around a fixed femur. So we are externally rotating from our pelvis on our femur. What we are not doing is moving this fixed femur into any kind of rotation. So how I'll see people cheat is when they go to come in like this, they will let their leg rotate out and they will push open and you'll see that paper move out. When we go to push up, instead of pushing up into full external rotation, lots of glute here, they will let their leg cave in. So they're essentially just kind of not moving through the hip, they're moving more through the foot, ankle, and knee. So then you'll see somebody who tends to compensate through their knee. They're going to have more knee pain. Their knees are going to feel more wear and tear because they're not coming from their hip from this motion. So what I want you to now think about is getting that nice full range of motion all the way down, all the way up. Okay, really opening. And I want you just to kind of hold here and breathe. Feel what's working. Push into that hip. Push into that glute a little bit more. Get that full external rotation. And then come down, wrap all the way in. You're not collapsing, you're holding. Adductors engaged here. Pulling forward with that back leg. Pulling back with that front. A lot of adductor. And I'm going to breathe here, really holding that adductor engaged, making sure you're not spilled forward because that's going to create some pinching. If you are feeling pinching, that means you're in an anterior tilt. Okay, so hold there, breathe, feel the adductor work, feel that hamstring work. I like to pull into it more on that exhale, really kind of work it. So you can push in and out like this, really moving through that hip. Now go ahead and switch legs for me and try the other leg. So move in, hold, breathe, and then push away. Might take a couple times to really feel that movement coming as you push away. Really push away with that glute. If you find yourself rolling to the outside of the foot, put a small towel under here and find that arch. Give it some grounding so you can push away with this glute area. Remember, hamstring is engaged, anchoring us to the ground. Abs are scooped. All right, so in and out, get that good rotation in that hip. I want you to compare both sides and see which side moved better, which side felt better. How do you feel now when you finish? Ooh, my hips feel great, like ready to dance. All right, so now you go film your Instagram or TikTok videos after you do that hip exercise. But where we're really here is to think about the pelvic floor. So as we move our femur around the socket, we are helping to dynamically change the influence on our pelvic floor. So I hope that after you finish that, you're like, oh yeah, my pelvic floor maybe feels a little bit released if it felt tight, or it feels a little bit more responsive. So give that a go and see what you feel.